everybody, and welcome to the first episode of Mike's Fish Tanks. This is my 240-gallon wild-caught Frontosa tank. As you can see, there are other fish in the tank as well. There's a Venusis right there. There's also a paracichlid right there. There is an iridescent shark. I believe that's what that's called. I could be wrong. Maybe that is called something else. I'm drawing a blank right there, but there's also a dinosaur bircher, which you see coming across the front. It is about 8.5 inches. The fish that I've just named, besides the paracichlid, were all given to me by a neighbor. So my neighbor was moving to Germany, and he had no way to transport his fish. Obviously, that would be crazy expensive, as well as it would be really hard to get people to do. He was going to be there for 6 to 8 weeks on a job, and then when he came back, there was going to be no way for him to keep the fish because he wasn't even going to be living in the same place, so all of his stuff was in storage. So I had such a large tank. He talked to me about it. He really wanted to give me the fish because he felt like I could take care of them rather than giving them to a pet store. I was a little bit apprehensive because this is my breeding group of Frontosa. They have bred 4 times for me in just over 8 months, which is pretty impressive if you know anything about wild-caught Frontosa breeding. Now, with that being said, I am not a professional breeder. It was something that I was trying out, and although they have bred 4 times, I've only been able to keep alive 2 of those fish. So there are 2 really small, by really small I mean like 2.5 inch Frontosa in this tank. One I believe is a female, the other is a male, and they are misstriped. So out of the 4 batches I had, one time the holding mother actually just swallowed them because I tried to put her in a holding tank, so that didn't work out. Won't be trying that again, and she swallowed them as I put her in the holding tank. The other times I stripped them. 2 out of the 3 times they all got fungus and the eggs didn't survive in the tumbler. The 3rd time, 3 of the fish survived. 1 of them did have perfect stripes. The other 2 were misstripes. I could tell immediately. I know most people like throw their misstripes out or feed them to the other fish. Personally, I feel like that's kind of vicious, and I don't see the point of doing something like that. So I just put them in the tank with these ones. If they were going to survive, I decided to let them survive. Now, again, as they get bigger, obviously I'll have to remove them when they get to a breeding age, but that takes a couple years for Frontosa, so I'm not really worried about that. And at that time, I will be rehoming them to someone else who I feel can take care of them and someone that doesn't mind their stripes not being straight. So they are also in the tank, but these are MOBA Frontosa. There is one Katoomba, which you see on the right here, the really large one. That is a Katoomba. I got it from a local fish shop. The guy's had him for 7 years, and it was the only one he had. He had it in a group at one point in time, but the fish was just getting torn up by the alpha male in the tank, and he wasn't going to keep it anymore. He had it in a 75-gallon at the fish store, and that was as large as he could do. He had a lot of large tanks there. I will say that, like, most of the time when you go to fish stores, everything's in 10 gallons or maybe even 20 gallons if they're lucky. They were all in at least 75-gallon tanks, but this fish was in there with a bunch of other just F1 and F2 Frontosa, and kind of just sitting at the top looking pretty lonely. At almost 12 inches, I thought it deserved a larger tank. So as you can see here, I put it in my tank, and I feel like it was the best bet for them. Now the rest of the Frontosa are MOBA. Outside of, there's 2. So there's one directly in the middle right now, which you can see has a little bit of mooning, and there's one to the far right over there with the dinosaur bircher, which you can't see yet, but I believe it's coming back in frame now. It is also an F1 Frontosa. Not absolutely positive on the type. I believe, based on looking at it and looking at the rest of the fish, it looks to be a MOBA as well. Both of them have mooning. Both of them are males, I believe, as well, and they were also from a Craigslist deal that I found, so I put them in the tank as well, but they are not in the breeding group of Frontosa. Frontosa are weird in that they will they live in they're polygamous breeders, so you only want a couple